that I only thought it was a dream. Never would I have thought that in that moment when we were locked up together, that we were going to be able to testify together. And that we would be able to speak to everyone tonight, letting you know that God is the one that's in control. God is the one that gives family the strength that we need. And that's why we are strong. And we're even stronger because we're together. And I have the privilege to give the mic to my handsome husband at this moment, William Rodriguez.
God bless the church. Dios me los bendiga. Qué privilegio tan lindo, amén, poder pararme acá arriba como el sacerdote de la casa, amén, y tener mi familia, poder hablar de una experiencia que impactó nuestra vida, y no solamente la vida de nosotros. Yo sé que muchos de ustedes fueron impactados de una manera u otra durante ese tiempo. Y como dijo mi esposa, dijeron los niños, le damos gracias primeramente a Dios y después a los pastores por esta oportunidad de poder hablar y expresarnos como familia. Cuando mi esposa babe, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? You always leave everything for the last minute, you know. But I practice and I study everything in my mind. And when I'm alone, I'm writing, I'm researching, and I'm like, I know many of them, many of our friends and family, they've heard the testimony. They're probably tired of it, But they just talk about how every one of us felt. There's thousands of stories in here. We can pick any story and talk about it, but there's nothing more beautiful than to talk about your own experience. And I told them, like, let's just do it again. It's gonna touch somebody. It's gonna impact somebody. So, let's just bring it. And it's a story that really, it really hit hard. The year 2020, I know for us, is a year we'll never forget. It's a year that will be in the history books. Kids will be studying it for years to come. The pandemic of 2020. When you hear the word pandemic, it gets us all a little jittery. It gets me nervous. I would say some of us even have PTSD. I start twitching when I hear the word pandemic, because it reminds me of the lockdown, and it reminded me of not being able to go to church, and it was tough. How it all started was after lockdown. Everybody was like, hey, it's time to, take advantage. There's no more lockdown. Yeah, there's restrictions. You saw people going here, people going there. So 4th of July weekend, and we decided, what, it's our turn. Let's go. We've been locked down for a little bit. Let's take some time, and let's just go away for the weekend. And it was 4th of July. And as a man of the house, I'm like, I got to make a tough decision. But what happens if we get sick? Or qué pasa, si pasa algo, what's going to happen? And I'm like, let's just do it. Nothing's going to happen. God has us. We don't have to worry. We're covered by the blood of Jesus Christ. There's no worries. It's not going to come to my household. I rebuke anything that's coming. I just want to get out. I've been locked down. I haven't gone anywhere. I want to go somewhere. Everybody else is going out. So if they can do it, I can do it too. And when we come back, we start feeling the symptoms. And a few days later, you get sick and you get sicker, and you're like, oh my God, we got to go get tested. Like they all said, we all tested positive except for Jasmine. And for me and my wife, that was the biggest scare. Jasmine has always dealt with that respiratory problem that she has since she was a baby. Albuterol, machines. And we're like, man, if she gets it, and what's going to happen? And when we come back, I'm like, how is it possible that, like my wife said, that we all get it, she doesn't get it, and we're like, okay, so let's send her to mom's house. That way, we don't have to worry, and she doesn't get it, she doesn't get sick. And the doctor's like, no, she's already been exposed to the virus. So, and remember, the virus happened, in February, March? We got it around July, so todavía no había mucha, there were still not too many, there was a lot of questions. There wasn't sure answers. So everybody was, scared. And all you see in the news, the news, people dying, and you're like, oh my God, it's gonna come here. I have a heart condition I've been dealing with all my life. I got diabetes, I got high blood pressure. I'm dead. It's just gonna be a matter of days before, because that's what the news made you think. You get this pandemic, you get this sickness, you're gonna die. And I'm like, man, this is it. But I always say, man, God did not bring me back from the dead to make me, let me go out during a pandemic. And that was always my thing. Like, I understand I'm sick, God, but you did not bring me this way. For me, my story is not going to end 2020 during a pandemic. There's no way. But like my wife said, we were so grateful, and we thank God that, Jasmine, she had her moment where, like they said, God gave her songs, you're an amazing God. Lord, you're the best. God is good, and she built a praying relationship with God. And you would come, and I would come to her room because we had to be separated. And, we bought all plastic stuff, and she had to eat 6 feet apart. And we were walking around with Lysol and wipes and, touch everything, make sure that Jasmine doesn't get it. And we were Lysol. We went crazy with Lysol. Lysol was our buddy. And at that time, it was hard to get, so you always had people dropping them off. So we were grateful for that. But we saw how God started speaking to her. We saw how God was just giving her these lyrics, and she has a whole notebook of just songs that God gave her during these times. And as a family, we've never done this. And I know it's a cliche, the family has to pray, the family has to do this. But with life and everything that happens, you tend to forget about these things. You set them, you put them in a back burner, and we'll do them tomorrow, and then a month passes, 2 months passes, 3 months passes, and you really never do it. But during that time, we would just take the time and we would sing the songs, we would pray, we would have devotionals, we would all bring a message. It was such a beautiful thing, and it reminded me as a child that we used to do that at home. And it really woke us up. And we're like, man, we got to continue this. Like, this is just not a 14-day thing. Like, we have to make this part of our life. It has to become a lifestyle for us. Like, we have to do this as a family. This is the only way the family is going to be able to overcome any obstacle that comes our way. So I would come by her room, and I would hear her praying. I would hear her writing, and she'll start singing. And I'm like, wow. Like, my wife said, what we thought was a setback was actually a setup for her to be able to see God in a different way. And, and again, just super, super grateful for God. And to this day, God has protected, God has watched over her. And, we thank God for that. Manny's a different story. Manny, ever since he was a baby, he would get sick, and you can never tell he was sick. I mean, his energy is like at 1,000 when he's sick. And we're like, dude, are you sure? Like, are you sure you're positive? Like, this man's like jumping around, like nothing's wrong with him. You check his temperature and it's super high, and you're like, but él está como si nada, like, él está como coco, dicen los puertorriqueños, like, he was fine. But, he had the chills, and all of a sudden you'll see him, he'll start trembling, and we're like, wow, but, I want that energy. But I can always see, that he had él fue el menos que the least time. He got through it very quickly, and and I thank God that God protected and watched over my children. My wife, her battle was the mind, and my wife always had this little problem that she thinks too much, and that's a family thing. That's a Suarez thing. They overthink stuff, they analyze things, they just always thinking. And they'll sit in a little corner, and you're like, yo, ¿qué tú estás haciendo? Pensando. Pensando en qué? Like, they're always thinking about something, you know? But I remember one day she woke up and I can tell when something's off. And she was very off that day. And throughout the day, you know, very negative, you know, that, babe, I feel this, I feel that. Just to take a little step back, the problem was that the doctor, she kind of like set us up for failure in the mind. Because she's like, during, you know, the first 7 days, you're going to be okay. But days 8 through 12, be ready. Everything the worst moment's going to happen in. So day 6 come, you know, we're okay. Day 7, oh my God, babe, tomorrow's day 8. This is it. Tomorrow between day 8 and day 12, I'm dying. You know, that's what the doctor, you know, they set us up for. And we're like, you know, this is going to be the end of me. You know, like maybe day 11 or 12, you know, that'll be me. I'll be gone. But she woke up and I'm like, babe, what's wrong? She's like, oh, babe, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. But I would look at her, I'm like, you don't have nothing. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, you're letting your minds play tricks on you and making you believe you have something when you really don't. You know? And I kept on looking at her, and there was this look on her face of just anxiety. And this is the first time that I had to, like, literally grab my wife, look at her, and I just say, Diablo, yo te reprendo en el nombre del Señor. You have given us the authority to rebuke you, and you have no place in my household. And I grabbed her, and we started praying, and I'm like, no, devil, you're a liar. You have no place in my home. You have no place. You're not going to get the victory. We're going to be more, you know, we're going to become overcomers. We're going to pass through this, and we're going to be able to testify how great you are. And when we did that prayer, you know, a few minutes later, we started singing, and singing is our thing. In our house, we always listen to music, or we're always singing. Sundays, man, we saw from TDP to Kingdom Conquerors to TD Jakes to Joel Osteen. I mean, we watched church all day on Sunday. That was like, Sunday was the holy day. You know, like we watched services after services after services. And, you know, we were getting together and as a family, and I enjoyed it. And the prayer circles and the worship and, you know, and Sundays, and it was such a beautiful experience to be able to just do it with my family, you know, like get together and be able to pray. And we saw different messages. We saw Pastor Alfredo come on, you know, he was here alone. You know, you can see the videos. But we were able to enjoy, you know, and all the positivity that was coming from the Word. And then when it came to me, like I said, my wife said, we said, you know, my biggest fear was my underlying conditions. You know, like, man, you know, like, and they kept on announcing it on TV. Like, during this time, we shut TV off. Like, the only time we would turn on TV was to listen to music or watch something productive, like a preaching or something, because if you watched the news, you were dying the next day. You know, like, the news was just, you know, they would drive you crazy. But, so that was my biggest worry. And like I said earlier, I'm like, God, you didn't bring me this far. You know, you've brought me, you know, premature baby, you know, dying in an automobile accident, having a heart attack when I was 9 years old. You know, multiple times you saved me in Chicago from people killing me. And, you know, everything I've gone through, there's no way my life ends in a pandemic. There's no way. And we passed through our time praying, believing and trusting in God that He's going to do the miracle. And then the time to go back and get tested comes. And so what happens when you've been praying and you get an answer you didn't want to hear? You know, we did everything we had to do. Everything that we've been taught, we did it. In 14 days, we were, you know, praying, seeking God, reading the Bible, doing everything. Everything we've been taught all of our lives. And then we get there, and the answer is you're still positive. And I start thinking about the verses. I'm like, Matthew 7:7, it says, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be open. Matthew 21:22 says, all things you ask in prayer, believing you will receive. Matthew 9:29 says, so he said to them, the kind can come out of nothing but prayer and fasting. We were doing all of this. Therefore, Mark 11:24 says, therefore I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. So I'm questioning God, and I'm reading these verses out, and I'm like, God, John 14:13-14 says, I will do whatever you ask in my name, so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. You may ask for me anything in my name, and I will do it. So all these verses are telling me that you're going to do it, yet I'm receiving an answer that's a negative. They taught me that all I have to do is ask, and I'm going to receive what I asked for. I've been in church all my life. I've never left you. So why is it that now, when I need you the most, you're not there? How, as a father, I'm going to explain to my children that we trust in a God that, you know what, when we want something, He doesn't give it to us. As a man, how am I supposed to explain this to my children? And the negativity just came. Started crying in the car. And I'm like, babe, what are we going to do? Like, I can't go through another 14 days of just being locked up, and I'm going to go crazy. Like, why? Why is God doing this to us? Yes, I'm grateful and thankful that I'm alive. But man, we did everything we had to do. Like, I don't get it. I don't know how many times in your life you've gone through situations where you're like, you ask God, you seek God, you do everything you're supposed to do, but yet you hear the answer you don't want to hear. And I'm like, my wife, now it's her turn to rebuke me. You see? And like, no, babe, we're going to get through this. God's going to have the final say. I know God's going to make a way. God's going to do something that we don't know what's going to happen, but God's going to do something. A few days later,
we got the news on Friday, or we went to go get tested on Friday, and they gave us the results that we were still positive. So we ended up calling the doctor, and her news was, I'm sorry, you got to stay another 14 days in the house and get tested again. By the way, just to let you know, it can stay in you for 6 months. So you just have to wait and see if it'll just leave your body. So we were like, that's not what we wanted to hear. But if that's what God wanted at that moment for us to hear, we received it.
So another 14 days. I'm like, I can't. I'm going to go crazy. You know, I just don't know how we're going to be able to get through this. Yet, as the man of the house, you can't show, and the men know, that weakness. No, you know, my wife, no, baby, okay, we're good. We're back. I'm back. Okay, we're good. We're going to do it. We're going to get through this. You know, and I have to show the kids, no, don't worry about it. God got it. God's got it. You know? But I learned it was another lesson. You see, God was testing us. He wanted to see if our faith would waver on the answer, or would our faith be firm on the rock, which was Him. You see, society told us that after 14 days we should be fine. They were setting the timeline. But with God, everything is at His perfect time. You see, they said after 14 days you're good. No, but God has a purpose for everything. He was testing us. He wanted to see how our faith, if our faith was going to waver. He was testing to see how strong we were going to stay. And then on Sunday, hold on. On Sunday, we heard, was it Torrin Wells that was singing?
Never lost the battle on Sunday.
On Sunday, we heard the song, because you never lost the battle. You never, but, and I'm like, you know what? You're right. We have not lost a battle. With Jesus Christ on our side, we have never lost a battle. And that song just came on, and Joel Osteen brought a powerful word. And we're like, there's hope. God's going to do something. On Monday, we get a call. It says, Advent Health. I'm like, Advent Health? Oh. The doctor calls us. She's like, you were the first person I wanted to call this morning. The CDC changed the guidelines, and you're no longer contagious. You no longer have to isolate yourself. You no longer have to be locked up in your rooms. Go hug your daughter. Go give a kiss to your daughter. Go do what you got to do. Because you know what? You're no longer contagious, and you can just go about your life. I'm like, thank you, Jesus. Because it's not another 14 days. But you know what? We learned so much during that time. It was tough. Man, like that weekend but songs after songs and message after message was just so comforting. God always spoke to us. Don't worry, I got this. Don't worry, you're going to get through this. And I tell you guys, I know, put the pandemic aside, and I know there's been many times where you've gotten an answer you don't want to hear. And maybe you've been waiting for a long time for God to answer that petition. And this isn't out of my notes, but you know what? Those 3 kids you see right there, those are my niece and nephew. Their mom and dad waited for 12 years. They were told through 12 years that they could not have kids. They were told that they wouldn't have kids. They prayed for 12 years. She cried for 12 years. Now imagine asking for something for 12 years. You lose hope. You lose trust in God. You lose, all hope is gone. But for 12 years, they prayed and prayed and prayed till the one day God answered that petition. And not only did he give him one, he gave him 2 twins. The boy and the girl are twins. So they gave him one of a kind. After 12 years. You see, I don't know how long you've been praying for God to do a miracle in your life. But if he said it, he's going to do it. And not only, they call the third one the bonus. They always call it, that's my bonus, child. But God gave him 3. So again, church, I tell you today, no matter what you've been going through, no matter your struggle, no matter how long you've been waiting, if you're praying for your child to come to Christ, it's going to happen. If God said it, he's going to do it. Don't waver, just trust. So I tell you tonight, church, it's been a pleasure speaking to you guys tonight. God has spoken to our lives first, and I know God has spoken tonight and just challenging the families. Continue to pray together. Seek God together. Fast together. Do what you got to do as a family, but maintain that prayer circle in your household. It's very, very important. And I tell you guys, no matter what you're waiting for, it shall come. Just keep trusting and believing in God, and he's going to do the miracle. So I thank you, Pastor. You may come up here and take the mic. Oh, that's right. They're going to...
I just want to... Oh, todo se lo debo a Él. Todo se lo debo a Él. Mi vida y mi sustento, mi fuerza y esperanza, todo se lo debo a Él. Sing it with me. Todo se lo debo a Él. Todo se lo debo a Él. Y mi casa y mi familia y todas mis canciones, todo se lo debo a Él. Oh, y todo se lo debo a Él. Y todo se lo debo a Él. Y mi vida y mi sustento, mi fuerza y esperanza, y todo se lo debo a Él. Cántalo con nosotros. Y todo se lo debo a Él. Y todo mi casa
y mi familia
y
y todas mis canciones,
todo
se lo debo.
sí, todo a Él. Cántalo, iglesia. Y todo se lo debo a Él. Y todo
Se lo debo
a Él. Mi vida,
vida y mi sustento, mi
Mi
fuerza y esperanza,
todo se lo debo a Él.
Vamos a dar un aplauso fuerte al Señor en esta noche. Vamos a seguir cantando en este lugar. Vamos a ponernos de pies en esta noche. Alguien que es agradecido del Señor, vamos, levanta tus manos ahí donde tú estás. Dilo, y todo se lo debo a Él. Vamos, levanta tus manos, decláralo en este lugar. Vamos, iglesia,
Y
todo se lo debo a Él. Mi vida y mi sustento, díselo.
Mi vida y mi sustento, mi fuerza y esperanza,
Alguien que lo puede
y
declarar.
todo se lo debo
Yes,
a
yes, yes.
Él. Y
Todo se lo debo a Él. Vamos, díselo. Y todo se lo debo a Él. Mi vida y mi sustento, sí, Dios.
mi vida y mi sustento,
Mi fuerza.
mi fuerza y esperanza,
Todo.
y todo se lo debo a Él.
Oh, a Dios sea la gloria. Díselo. A Dios sea la gloria. La familia Rodríguez lo puede declarar. A Dios. Vamos, díselo. Sea la
Gloria por lo que
Hizo en mí.
Él hizo en mí.
Vamos, díselo, adiós. Si lo sabe, cántalo. Adiós. Sea la gloria. Sea la gloria. Él merece toda honra y toda gloria. Por su protección divina sobre nuestras vidas, estamos todavía de pies en este lugar. Y podemos declarar a Dios sea la gloria. Vamos. Alguien que es agradecido del Señor por lo que hizo en mí. Por su sangre, díselo. Por su sangre me ha limpiado. Con su poder, con su poder me ha levantado, me ha levantado. Adiós, adiós. Sea la gloria por lo que hizo en mí. Vamos, dale gloria a Dios en ese lugar. Dale gloria a Dios en ese lugar. Dale gloria a Dios en ese lugar. Alguien tiene que decir gracias a Dios. Gracias a Dios, gracias a Dios. Gracias por proteger mi familia. Gracias por estar conmigo, con mis hijos, Dios. En el nombre de Jesús. ¿Quién lo hizo? ¿Quién lo hizo? Y a su nombre, gloria. Vamos a hacer una oración. Dar un aplauso fuerte al Señor por esa palabra. Ese testimonio de parte de la familia Rodríguez. Me gozo en ver los jóvenes, los niños, las damas, los caballeros, todo poder hablar, amén, de su propio testimonio. Y yo no me puedo ir de ese lugar sin decir lo que el Espíritu Santo puso en mi corazón. Y es que el Señor tiene algo muy maravilloso con Jorge Emanuel. Y cuando él estaba hablando, el Espíritu Santo empezó a inquietarme. Y hay algo grande en ese joven. Y le voy a decir, hermanos, ustedes van a ver ese desarrollamiento en ese lugar, en su ministerio. Porque el Señor tiene algo muy... How many believe it with me tonight? Había una presencia dentro de él mientras él estaba hablando. Y yo creo y declaro sobre su vida en esta noche que el Señor va a abrir puertas a su favor. Come on, church. Somebody that believes it with me in this place. Yo me gozo. Me gozo a ver las familias unidos. Y me gozo a ver padres que no dejen de orar por sus hijos. Porque hay madres, hay padres en este lugar que todavía están orando por sus hijos. Y yo declaro que el Señor lo va a traer pronto. ¿Cuántos lo creen conmigo? Levanta tus manos ahí donde tú estás. Vamos a hacer una oración. Yo sé que el tiempo corre, pero nosotros nos vamos de este lugar hasta que nosotros hagamos una oración por las familias. Y si tu familia está en este lugar, júntate con ellos. Si tu padre está aquí, si tu madre está aquí, si tus hijos están aquí, júntate con su familia en este lugar. Yo quiero elevar un clamor sobre cada familia. Y si no tiene a nadie, júntate con otra familia, porque todos somos una familia. ¿Cuántos dicen amén? ¿Cuántos dicen amén? Vamos a salir de su silla. Yo veo hijos que no están con sus padres. Júntate. A Dios sea la gloria. A Dios, come on, just declare it. Sea la gloria. Yes. A Dios sea la gloria por lo que hizo en mí. A Dios, vamos a declararlo con tu familia. A Dios sea la gloria, sea la gloria. A Dios, díselo. A Dios en el nombre de Jesús sea la gloria. A Dios sea la gloria por lo que Él hizo. Yes. Vamos, levanta la mano de tu familia ahí donde tú estás. A Dios, eleva un clamor en su silla. Dile gracias a Dios, gracias Señor. En esta noche tú has hablado a nuestros corazones, tú has ministrado a nuestra vida, Dios. Y en esta noche nosotros nos unimos, Señor. Te pido, Espíritu Santo, que tú sigues trayendo unidad sobre cada familia en este lugar, Señor. Señor, yo te pido en el nombre de Jesús que sea tú, Señor, sanando, restaurando, renovando relaciones en ese lugar, Señor. Yo te pido sobre esos matrimonios que están quebrantados. Te pido sobre esos hijos, relaciones con su padre que están quebrantados. Te pido que tú interrumpas, Señor, que sea tú moldeando, Señor, en su vida, Dios. Te pido, Señor, que sea tú obrando a favor de ellos. Señor, yo te pido en el nombre de Jesús, reprendemos ese espíritu de división, reprendemos ese espíritu de enojo, reprendemos ese espíritu, Señor, que trata de dividir lo que tú has unido. Señor, yo te pido sobre cada casa, sobre cada hogar, Señor, que sean, Señor, restaurados, que sean levantados sobre la roca, Señor, que aunque vengan, Señor, los vientos, Señor, a que vengan las olas, Señor, que nada y nadie puede tumbar una casa que está, Señor, edificada sobre la roca, sobre la roca, sobre la roca. Y yo te pido en el nombre de Jesús, Señor, que tú restablece los altares familiares en ese lugar, Señor. Y te pido, Espíritu Santo, Señor, que sea tú, Señor, obrando en los hijos, en los padres que no se encuentran en ese lugar. Señor, yo te pido por el clamor de cada madre, de cada padre, de cada hijo, de sus hijos que no le sirven al Señor. Te pido en el nombre de Jesús, Señor, que tú extiendes tu mano ahora mismo, Dios, sobre su vida, Dios. Señor, que tú lo tocas ahora, Señor, en esta noche, Dios. Que ellos pueden sentir tu Espíritu Santo, Señor, acariciándose ahora mismo sobre su vida, Dios. Donde quiera que ellos estén, Señor, en su casa, en su carro, en su trabajo, que ellos pueden saber que hay una iglesia que está clamando por su familia. Hay una iglesia que está clamando por sus hermanos, por su padre, por sus hijos. Y creemos y confiamos que tú lo harás en tu tiempo perfecto. Danos la fortaleza, danos la fuerza para esperar en ti, Dios, y nunca dudar de lo que tú vas a hacer. Y como tu hijo Manny dijo en esta noche, deberemos alabarte antemano, porque la promesa todavía está de pie. Si tú crees que la promesa está de pie, dar un aplauso fuerte al Señor en ese lugar. Vamos a dárselo fuerte al Señor en ese lugar. La promesa sigue de pie. En el nombre de Jesús. Se puede sentar rapiditamente. Tenemos varios anuncios que queremos compartir con cada uno de ustedes. Escuchan bien, hermanos. Mañana es un día muy importante para nuestra escuela. Yo dije nuestra escuela, The I Believe Christian Academy, porque es su escuela y es mi escuela, en la escuela de TDP. Amen. Mañana nosotros tenemos nuestro última inspección en este lugar a las 9 de la mañana. Y en esta noche nosotros sí vamos a vigilar, pero yo quiero ver si hay intercedores que pueden levantarse conmigo a las 7 de la mañana, interceder por esta inspección. ¿Cuántos se van a levantar conmigo a orar? Vamos, ver las manos en este lugar. How many are going to wake up with me at 7 a.m. in the morning? We're going to wake up and we're going to intercede. Amén. Si quieres levantarte más temprano, amén, pero a las 7 de la mañana vamos a levantarnos y vamos a orar por esta inspección. Si Dios lo permite, amén, ya mañana cuando pasamos la inspección, ya vamos a estar listos a abrir I Believe Christian Academy en ese lugar el 15 de agosto. Amén. Y si no pasamos, pues que la cosa que Él nos dice que tenemos que hacer, que lo hacemos y lo hacemos rápido. Pero yo creo firmemente en el Señor que como la inspección de fuego pasó, nosotros vamos a pasar la inspección de salud. ¿Cuántos dicen amén? ¿Cuántos dicen amén? Amén. Nosotros estamos, amén, bien gozosos, bien alegres, amén, de poder abrir esta escuela en agosto 15. Recuerda, hermano, si usted está interesado de poner sus estudiantes, por favor haga la registración, ya que nosotros para el primer año tenemos un máximo un máximo de estudiantes que podemos tener para el primer año. So, por favor, si tiene alguna pregunta, alguna duda, véase con mi persona, con los administradores, nuestro pastor fundador, amén, hermano Pastor Santiago, la hermana Sherry. Ustedes pueden hablar con nosotros si quieren alguna pregunta. También estamos buscando voluntarios que nos pueden ayudar durante el día cuando abrimos la escuela. Amén. Por el primer año queremos emplear maestros, maestras, pero no sabemos el número de registraciones que vamos a tener. So, para el primero semestre, segundo semestre, vamos a necesitar voluntarios para ayudarnos con los salones, a limpiar, cosas así. So, si usted está interesado, por favor, hable con nuestra persona. Nosotros tenemos que tener una orientación con los que quieren hacer voluntario, y también tenemos que pasar un background check y hacer fingerprinting. Amén. So, los que están interesados, por favor, hable con nosotros. Necesitamos voluntarios para I Believe Christian Academy. ¿Cuántos dicen amén? Amén. Y no queremos pasar por alto, tenemos el Back to School Bash que viene el 6 de agosto. Vamos, el Back to School Bash el 6 de agosto. Amén. Tendremos un fire truck tour, bounce house, free school supplies, amén, comida gratis, el Big Red Bus y muchos juegos para los niños, amén, para la comunidad. Tenemos, ve todas esas cajas que están, amén, en la pared. Nosotros necesitamos esa caja gone today. Se tiene que ir hoy. So, por favor, si tiene una oportunidad, amén, de estacionar esa caja en su trabajo, en una escuela, amén, en una oficina, por favor, llévase esa caja. Lo necesitamos gone, amén, de este lugar hoy, porque tenemos la inspección mañana, amén. So, ayúdenos con eso, por favor. Y los que cogieron el link de Target, yo creo que, I don't know, sister, is the sale still going on with Target? En la venta de Target ahora mismo tienen crayola por 25 centavos, notebooks por 50 centavos. Amén. So, si usted quiere cooperar, amén, con el fundraiser, con el School Supply Drive, por favor, vayan a target.com y pueden buscar todos los supplies. Amén. Y los puede venir a traer a este lugar para que podamos ir llenando las cajas. Amén. ¿Cuántos dicen amén? Amén. Vamos a ponernos de pie, vamos a despedir en oración. También necesitamos la ayuda de todos los caballeros. Caballeros, amén. Necesitamos su ayuda, amén. Solamente puede haber 150 sillas en el santuario para la inspección mañana. So, por favor, ayúdenos a contar las sillas. Si tenemos más de 150, lo vamos. We just got to get rid of 16. And where are we putting those at? Ok, vamos a poner 10.
Bendiciones, familia y amigos.
Blessings, family and friends.
Queremos darte las gracias por sintonizar en nuestro servicio vivo en el día de hoy.
We want to thank you for tuning into our live service this morning.
Queremos tomar unos minutos para reflejar en la adoración y la palabra que tú has recibido en el día de hoy.
We want to take a few moments to reflect on the worship and word that you received today.
Oramos al Señor que te dé las fuerzas y la sabiduría de no solamente oír esta palabra, sino aplicarlo en tu diario vivir con el Señor.
We pray to God for wisdom and strength to not only be hearers of the word, but to apply it to your daily walk with Christ.
Quizá no te conocemos personalmente, pero nosotros servimos a un Dios omnisciente que sabe todas las cosas.
We may not know you personally, but we serve a God that is all-knowing.
Y yo sé que su tiempo es perfecto.
And we know that his timing is always perfect.
Si tú deseas oración, si necesita la oración, usted puede mandar un mensaje de texto o llamar el número en tu pantalla.
If you desire or are in need of prayer, you can send a message or call the number that is on your screen.
Quizás está buscando una iglesia para congregar. Aquí en TDP Church, nosotros estamos para amar a Dios y amar a la gente.
Maybe you are in search of a church to congregate. Here at TDP, we love God and love people.
Y les dejo con esa palabra. Todos pasamos por temporadas de pérdidas y temporadas de ganancia.
And I leave you with this word. We all go through seasons of gains and seasons of losses.
Pero esta temporada es tu temporada y es la temporada de nosotros.
But this season is your season, and it's our season as well.
Y es la temporada para la iglesia levantarse.
It is the season for the church to rise up.
Dios me lo bendiga a todos
God bless you all,
y que la paz del Señor esté con usted.
and that the peace of God may be with you.